Hello and welcome to this webinar on smart IT savings and spending. So how can we help you cut costs without cutting corners? And that is the most important thing. But a quick disclosure alert, IT is constantly evolving, your spend will evolve, and we recommend regularly reviewing and evolving it. So let's jump in. So this should take around 15 minutes, this webinar. So thank you very much for joining us. But it's all about maximizing the value for your business. This doesn't mean that you can't also save some money in certain areas. But it's not just about saving or lowering spend. It's making sure you're getting the most bang for your buck. That's what's really important. So before I give you our top 6 ways to save, there are 3 areas you need to ensure are not affected by changes and adjustments that you may be considering. First and foremost, we need to break down on what IT should do and does for your users. So it must enable them to get the most output in the time frame that you give them. So if they're a full-time employee, what is it you want them to do? And is the IT helping them rather than hindering them? And that is the key. Your biggest expense in business, apart from obviously IT as an expenditure, but your biggest expense is your staff and your team. Don't give them rubbish tools that frustrate them, because that could cause them to leave, and recruitment costs are again quite expensive. So it's really about making sure that you give them fantastic tools so that they feel valued and then perform better in their role. Second part is do not take risks and cut corners on cybersecurity. It is the #1 threat to businesses across the globe. So don't cut corners when it comes to your cybersecurity. And then the third is it's all about balancing reliability against downtime. Downtime will cost you the most amount of money. So it's making sure that you've got good, reliable technology that people can fully work with, rather than if it keeps glitching, if it stops, if it goes completely down, then that's a huge impact to not only your team, but to your customers and to your vendors. So it's making sure that you don't cut too many corners. So where can we help you save? This is the biggie. So here's our top 6 main areas. So #1, first of all, make sure that you've got the correct number of licenses and seats, because often you may have employees that have left. Maybe they weren't replaced straight away, and you could have random licenses that you're still paying for as a batch when you don't actually need them. So just make sure that you've got the correct number for each user. The second part is Microsoft 365 is probably one of your biggest software expenditures. So does everyone need the same Microsoft 365 licenses? There's lots of different types of licenses available. So does everyone need the full pack with extra redundancy built in? Make sure that they've got exactly what they need. Also, you can work out whether you need annual commitments, monthly commitments, and certainly a lot come with different discounts. The third one is different people are doing different roles. Will they need the same licenses? So a good example is Microsoft Copilot is now an added extra to your Microsoft 365. And a number of companies, certain people in the businesses thought, wow, this is amazing. This is going to save us a huge amount of time. It's fantastic and it's worth the investment. But what they've done is they've added Copilot to every user. But not every user is using Copilot. Not every user understands it. Not everyone needs to use it, depending on what their role is within the business. So it's really making sure that you look at what the individual roles are and what software do they need. Don't just have a blanket approach by giving everyone every bit of software, because it may only be 10, 20, 30 pounds per month, but over the year, it's a huge extra amount. So it really is about making sure that the right people in the right roles have got the right software that they need. The fourth one is you can always haggle with certain software vendors. Now, there's people like Microsoft, you can't haggle. There's nothing you can do there. They're just too big. They've got too much power. They won't budge. Whereas there's other software vendors that you may be using that possibly could cut a bit of money off here and there, or maybe give you slightly better licenses and more features for a lower amount of money. Also, often if you ask for annual discounts or maybe even commit for 3, 4, 5 years, then you may actually be able to get a discount, or potentially request that you stay on the same price. So you agree to a deal, but you want the same price over the 3 years. You don't want an incremental adjustment upwards. So again, some will, some won't. It depends how much value there is in that software, but it's always worthwhile asking. The fifth is no overlaps on security software. Now, often there's different licenses that you may have for when it comes to security. So an example might be that one product is advertised as an antivirus, and then you might have another product that is advertised as an endpoint detection and response. So two separate things, but sometimes the antivirus will come with the endpoint detection and response, and other times the endpoint detection and response may come with a level of antivirus. So it's always worthwhile reviewing with whether it's your IT partner or whether you're doing it in-house, but always reviewing what is the complete stack. Because often with security software, they're layered on top of each other. So sometimes you can get the full suite that may include everything. Other times what they advertise as the full suite actually means their full suite and it's not the full suite. So you just have to be quite careful on what it is that you're buying. So, and often newer software has more functionality than some of the older software. And then the final bit is price check. Always review. So review and do audits on your existing providers, but also what's out there and what is the true cost. Cost being cost per month for the users, but also then is there any additional support costs? So that's our main 6, but then we also look at can you potentially save money on support in itself? So are you currently using external IT support, or do you have internal exclusive IT support, or are you just using some internal resources? Again, it's really looking at if you've got someone that is part-time IT person and the rest of the time they're supposed to be doing another role, are they struggling in that main role because they're doing IT? How long is it taking them out of their working week or working month when actually you could pay an external IT company less for the difference in the extra productivity that person would gain? So it's not as simple as just saying, oh, we'll save money, we'll get someone internally to do it, because it may restrict them. Also, are you losing? So it's not just productivity, but does it take them a lot longer to research a fix? Is their knowledge good enough to keep your business safe and secure? You've got to ask all these questions. So because it's not as easy as just go, oh, that person kind of knows how to fix things, and away they go. And then the final element, and this might actually surprise some of you, is that spending and replacing hardware can actually save you money. Often using older machines has the biggest impact and will cost you more in lost productivity. It will also be a security risk, and it can create negative working atmospheres. So here's an example. If a person loses just 30 minutes a day, now they may start the machine up, it may take 10 minutes to fire up, in which case they go and get a coffee when they wouldn't normally. It then takes them slower to, if they're rendering images or they're sending emails, and it's slow and it crashes, and it takes them a while to upload different things. So over the day, it's around 30 minutes. So let's say the average wage in the UK at the moment is £16.50 per hour. So over 1 week, that's £41.25, which is £2,145 per year that it's going to cost, just that 30 minutes. So, but if you bought them a new PC, even if it was a relatively entry level one, let's say around £500. So within 3 months, you'll have paid back the cost of the machine just by giving them that extra productivity where they can press the on button and it's on, up and working in under 30 seconds. So it really can make a big impact. Also, if you're investing in the technology, you'll get a happier worker, which means there's less chance they're going to leave. You save on recruitment costs. And every time you have to employ a new person, it's not just the recruitment costs, it's induction, it's then the time it takes to get them up to speed to perform at their best. And then finally, we would say plan the cash flow. Have a strategic 5-year roadmap. Plan the replacements so that you don't suddenly get a surprise where 3 machines have just fallen over. You've then got downtime that people can't work and you just, as an emergency, you need to get that machine in. Also, it's around tax efficient purchasing. And this is what really good businesses understand. If your year end is, let's say, March, you should be gearing your hardware spend so that you can get those big purchases in before the end of March, so that then it's a tax efficient way of keeping cash in your bank rather than buying the purchases in April and then you've effectively got an entire financial year to wait for those savings. So it's all about being tax efficient, but make sure that whoever you partner with as an IT support provider will do a full annual review, full budget, and give you a 5-year roadmap. It's so important that you're not just using an IT partner that does basic break fix, that it's all about a strategic partner, because as technology evolves, it's not just about fixing things as they break. It's about having that full plan of every aspect of the business that touches technology. And with a modern business, every part of a business is touched by technology in some way. So that's everything for the main presentation. I'd just like to say a really big thank you. And we'd also like to offer you a free gift. Now, if you're currently with Syn-Star, obviously you should know that you can have an audit whenever you like, and we will go through all of your licenses and make sure that you're fully optimal and that you're not spending any money that you don't need to. But if you're not with Syn-Star, then you can request, we are giving you a full 100% free audit. We'll go through your entire spend of technology, whether it's your IT support, your licenses, your security software, telecoms, literally everything. We can review and sense check to make sure that you are getting the most value. And as I've said, if you don't currently get a 5-year roadmap and a full budget from your existing IT company, then you should consider talking to Syn-Star. So all you need to do to claim your free audit, you can either go onto our website, send us an email and say, can I claim my free audit? Or you can email me directly, my email address, giles@syn-star.co.uk. Or maybe you're not ready, but you do want to find out more. Then you can follow me on LinkedIn, so just straightforward Giles Cleverly, nice and easy, or you can search Syn-Star on all the major social media platforms, and we're always giving out new content. We have got one of the biggest and best learning centers on our websites, and everything is completely free. So go over to our website, just syn-star.co.uk, and you'll get everything on there completely free in our learning center, because it's all about helping and educating you to use technology better so that your business absolutely thrives. Now, we have had a couple of questions coming in whilst on this webinar, so thank you very much. So first one, what is involved in your free audit? Well, this really depends on your technology. So often it can really be a discussion on understanding where you're at, but also you can send us all of your current spend. Then we'll really get a good feel of what you've currently got. And the first question is, what you've got, is that okay? And then in which case we're just looking at costings. Whereas it could be that you've actually got holes and there's certain areas that you do want to improve on. So first question is, what have you got? Let's have a look at what you're spending. And then we literally go through everything and we give you a full comparison. So, exactly what you've got now compared to what you could potentially get. So it's a really easy process. We do all the work. You just literally need to reach out and ask for the audit. So, right. So how often should I review pricing? Right. I mean, it really depends in the industry and the commitment that you've got with certain softwares and things. Generally, it's good, we would say, bare minimum once a year. So if you do annual planning, a part of that can be when you're looking at your budgeting. It's always good to do a review. But as I say, it really depends on the commitment levels and things like that. If you're in a commitment for 3 years with something, then it's probably not worth reviewing it until maybe 3 months before the end of the commitment. Right. Okay. Yeah. So we've got one. Microsoft is expensive. What are the alternatives? Well, this is a great question. In an absolute raw form, there's not many, if I'm completely honest. And the thing is with Microsoft, they are very good at getting you paying monthly, and but they also are always expanding what you get for your money. So we would generally say that there's not necessarily a like for like, but for example, if you've got users that are mainly using a main CRM system and they're possibly just making calls, so then they really just need a headset, but they probably don't need a Microsoft 365 license, because if you can send and receive emails through your marketing platform, the software that you're using every day, then that actually is better. Because first of all, it keeps everything on track for the user. They can see everything that's going on, but also from a business perspective, so can you. It's all in there. You'll have complete track and transparency of all the communications happening. So certain times you don't need Microsoft. You probably will need Microsoft in terms of for your standard operating system of your laptop or your desktop. But there are certain areas. So different industries, you may be able to sort of tail off some of the spend that you're doing with Microsoft. Again, probably better to have an offline conversation. So do feel free to reach out, and I'll be more than happy to discuss that with you, or one of the Syn-Star team can. So, and then the last question. So I've got part-time employees. Can they share licenses? Right. So good question. I mean, generally, you need to check what software it is, and what the terms and conditions are. Usually, as an audit trail perspective, you want individual licenses, or you want individual users to log in as them, because you then get a full audit pattern of who's been doing what. Certain things you may be able to have more of a generic login. So if you've got, for example, multiple locations, sometimes you might have the town name as the email address, and then if multiple people are just sort of sending and receiving as that person. But it really depends on the business, what data as well. If you don't really have any important data, and you're certainly not taking customer data, because you need to make sure that you're on the right side of the law when it comes to GDPR. And also, if you've got cyber insurance, you just need to check. There's so many variables that unfortunately I can't give you an exact answer, but I would just say if it works for the business, then potentially. But again, maybe it does need a few more questions and a bit more sense checking around it. What you don't want to do is start trying to save money and then losing in the future. So an example would be, so say, it's good for everyone to have their own login so that you can really audit everything that's going on. If something happens that shouldn't happen, you've got a paper trail. Whereas if you start mixing licenses, then it's really difficult to do that. Similar to, say, credit cards. You know, if you've got company credit cards, really you should be giving company credit cards to each person with a lower limit, rather than having a card that people share around. So it's more about best practice. But yeah, there's not an exact answer, but I would just, it really depends on the type of software. So right, and I think that's it for the last of the questions. So thank you very much for your time. As I say, free audit, completely free. All you do, head over to Syn-Star, syn-star.co.uk, or you can email me directly, and we'll arrange for that to happen. So thank you very much for your time.